Take my hand, I'll lead you into death. By a Whisper in the Shadows, on AO3. Episode 39. Chapter 22. Katsuki was gonna be sick. Izuku was right there. He was right in front of him, and Katsuki couldn't do anything to help him. He had bruised and bloody, and it hurt Katsuki so much to see him like that. He couldn't even guess what Izuku had gone through. All he could think of was the gut-wrenching scream of his name. He had to get Izuku to come back. He had to save him. Now! Akio clapped. Smile dark. Don't you think it's time we had a family reunion? The bastard indicated for a guard to step up to Katsuki's cell. Katsuki, Shouta, Hitoshi. Try anything and I promise you will regret it. Katsuki's grin crawled as his name coming from that monster's mouth. The cell opened, charging barely lifting through Katsuki's mind, body tensed and ready when Izuku screamed. He froze. It was muffled through the muzzle, choked off and painful. Izuku had dropped to his knees, his head lowered and panting. Akio's eyes were on him. That fucking quirk. Okay, I'm sorry, we won't. No one's gonna try anything, alright? Okay, just please, don't do that again. Katsuki was begging, but he didn't care. Izuku was in pain. Izuku was in pain because of him. That was all Katsuki's felt. Akio hurt him because Katsuki couldn't keep his fucking impulsion in check. Akio hummed, moving to help Izuku up. The guard returned to open the gate. He moved the three of them forward, pushing them to their knees in the middle of the room. The gate closed, another opened. Katsuki forced himself to deep, calm breaths, keeping his eye on the floor. Eri whimpered as she was pushed to her knees, Yamada doing his best to comfort her. It's not your fault, Bakugou. Aizawa whispered next to him. Remember that. Katsuki tensed. He didn't think he could believe him. Shh, Reaper, you okay? See what happens with these heroes? All they do is hurt you. That's not true! Kirishima shouted from behind. Katsuki internally begged for him to shut up. The only person hurting Izuku is you, asshole! Akio laughed. Me? If you hadn't taken Bunny from me, none of this would have happened. The only reason Bunny hurt so much was because he wouldn't let you go. He marched to Katsuki, gripping his face. Especially you, his precious Ka-chan. Katsuki resisted the urge to split his face. They glared at each other, silence ruminating through the room. Akio stepped back, plastering that smile back on, addressing the rest of the room again. But again, I am merciful. I don't really want to hurt you all. Plenty of you will grow up to become good souls, I'm sure. And if we were to meet again, well then, I'd kill you. But for now, I will be willing to let you go free. He paused, eyes back on Katsuki. Well, most of you. You are just gonna hand us over to the League, Ida yelled. All this preaching, you're just as crazy as Stain. Akio was silent for a moment as he regarded Ida. You're Ingenium's brother. A shame what happened to him, that is. You know, I never really believed in Stain myself. He was just as corrupt as everyone else. He stood in front of Ida's cell. Interesting. That fight with Stain. I know what the public knows. He leaned closer. I also know what really happened. His gaze found Katsuki's again. Katsuki knew both Todoroki and Ida remembered that night. They both understood that Izuku helped them that night as well. Either way, I never cared much for the League. The three members stepped forward. Hey now, Akio. We had a deal. Shigaraki rasped, hand already outstretched. Akio didn't hesitate. He flicked out his hand, the nanocuffs roughed smoothly around the League's members' wrists. They yelled in protest. If you wish to keep your hands, I would not fight back. Akio said smoothly. The League members skewed in silent rage. Kirigiri still has his quirk. Now leave, and we won't have any issues. Do anything else, and those cuffs will explode. Katsuki glanced at his own cuffs. Akio turned his back on them, walking to stand in front of those kneeling again. The cuffs will release in 24 hours. You've reached your full usefulness. Togo pulled at her cuffs, uselessly. Shigaraki and Dabi looked ready to kill Akio where he stood. They had barely stepped forward, however, when Porto showered the three of them. Akio sighed dramatically. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the real fun. He put out his hand behind him. Izuku stepped forward, taking in his own. His attention never wavered from Akio. Katsuki wanted to call to him. He wanted Izuku to hear him, to remember who he was. Katsuki wanted Izuku to remember him. But he couldn't. He couldn't do anything. One wrong move. One thing that Akio didn't like, and who knows what he would do. Hurt Izuku again? Someone else? Aizawa, Yamada, Kirishima, Eri. He couldn't let anyone else get hurt because of him. He wanted to protect them, to save them. But the only thing he could do was sit and wait, like a dumb fucking dog. He was so weak. How could he have let this happen? How could he have let Izuku go again? Katsuki glared at the doors. He couldn't tell how long it's been since the feather had gone out. All he could do was wait, pray that they hadn't been teleported too far away. The longer he sat, the more impossible winning seemed. He knelt, bound by no chains. Yet he had never felt so trapped. Akio laughed, dancing in a mockery of frustration. Oh gosh, this really is difficult. He cried. He crouched in front of Yamada and Shouta. See, I don't actually want to kill you all, but, a payment is due. He stood again, nodding seriously. Yes. Lessons have to be taught. You're teachers. You understands. Actions have consequences, and bad behavior cannot go unpunished. No. He moved to stand in front of Katsuki. And really, you are the most rebellious of all, Katsuki. Punishment will no longer include you. You understand, right? It's what you deserve. Aizawa gripped Katsuki's wrists, squeezing it gently. Akio's eyes darted to the joining. He pouted. So sweet, he mused. Akio snapped his fingers, guards stopping to Yamada, Shinsou, and Eri. They started moving them back to their cells, despite their protests. Yamada pushed Shinsou and Eri behind him, shoving past the guards to Aizawa and Katsuki. No, Joe! He was cut off by Aizawa's pained grunt. Katsuki instinctively moved, catching his teacher by the chest to not let him collapse fully forward. Yamada had stopped in his tracks. He held up his hands in defeat. I'm sorry, please stop. Aizawa gasped as Akio released him, leaning heavily against Katsuki. Yamada allowed himself to be led back to his cell, eyes on Aizawa the whole time. Akio groaned in annoyance. See, this is what I don't understand about you people. You fight every day, but you are so easily beaten. One tiny bit of pain in someone you care about, and you bend to anything I say. He sighed. It's really pathetic. Caring for someone isn't pathetic. Todoroki spoke up. Izuku knew better than anyone. Something happened then. Whether it was Todoroki's words or his tone, but it affected everyone. Katsuki felt it in his bones. He refused to give up. He refused to lose to Akio. He refused to lose Izuku. The room's energy had shifted. They were scared, terrified. Akio had proved to them again and again how dangerous he was. But they would not go down without a fight. They were heroes after all. Izuku. Aizawa's voice was quiet. Still, it rang clear through the room. It was a call. He wanted Izuku to hear him. There was no reaction from the boy, but Aizawa didn't waver. He called again. Izuku. Slowly, Katsuki's classmates joined him. They called out Izuku's name. They cried, begged, shouted, asked him to come back. Akio laughed at their attempts. Izuku. Come on, Izuku. Midoriya Izuku. Zuku! Zuku! Please, kid. Izuku. Katsuki stared at his friends. The one person he could never live without. The one person he could never forget, ever give up on. The one person he could say without hesitation he would kill for. He would die for. His classmates rattled their cells. The noise was overwhelming. But still, Izuku didn't budge. Enough! Akio bellowed. No one listened. Something dark flashed in the man's eyes. He reached into his coat. Katsuki felt his lungs stop. Silence rang in the room. A collective intake of horrid breaths. Akio pressed the gun against the back of Izuku's head. It shone bright. A beacon of death. Izuku didn't flinch. He didn't move. He stared forward, blankly, accepting his fate. Small cries were heard behind Katsuki, muffled through their bated breaths. Akio pushed the gun forward again. I said, enough. Nobody moved. Akio barely breathed heavily, a clear attempt to calm himself. You are not in control here, he whispered. I have been so gracious, I was willing to allow you to all say goodbye and let you leave. He sighed, dropping the gun silently. I think now it's only right for you all to witness the death of your friends. Shock protested rose from the cells behind him. Katsuki couldn't keep his eyes off the gun in Akio's hand, even as he pocketed it. Death, he said. Oh. Katsuki was gonna die. Now, to decide who goes first. Guards grabbed Katsuki under his arms, holding him back. He yelled, pushing against him. Izuku stepped in front of Aizawa. His classmates yelled from their cells. Hizashi and Eri to his chest as she cried, tears streaking down her own face. Hitoshi rammed against the cell, pulling and hitting to no avail. Todoroki quickly joined his side, other classmates following. Izuku pulled out a gun. Katsuki screamed, thrashing harder. The gun pressed firmly against Aizawa's forehead. Panic exploded through Katsuki throughout the room. You have 30 seconds, Eraserhead. Make them count. And then, Akio started counting. 30, 29, 28, 27. Everyone shut it, Aizawa yelled. Please, okay, it's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. I want you all, 26, 25, 24, to listen to me, okay? It's okay. Hizashi, I love you. The letters, okay? The letters. I love you, Eri, Hitoshi. 23, 22, 21, 20. You are the greatest things in my life. Remember that. I love you and I am so, so proud of you. My students. You're gonna make 19, 18, 17, 16. Make the greatest heroes. You've come so incredibly far, and words can't describe the pride I feel when I see you. My class 2A, all of you. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. And Izuku. Izuku, if you can hear me, understand me at all. It is not your fault, okay? None of this is your fault. And I am so sorry we couldn't save you sooner. 10, 9. Everything's gonna be okay. 8, 7. Izuku. I'll see you later, kid. 6. Aizawa closed his eyes. 5. Izuku flinched. 4. Barely there. But Katsuki saw it. 3. Izuku heard. 2. Katsuki moved faster than he thought possible. He rammed his head into the guards. The shotgun echoed in the chamber. Katsuki grunted. Him and Izuku hit the ground hard. Behind him, Aizawa gasped. The bullet had grazed his arm. He was bleeding. But he was alive. Katsuki would take it. He would... An elbow clocked the side of his head. Izuku threw him off. They rolled. Izuku shoved him down from the top. Katsuki bucked his hips, ready to throw him off. He froze. Katsuki never realized the inside of a gun would look so dark. Izuku remained above him. He panted heavily through his muzzle. This close, Katsuki could see the blood in Izuku's eyes. He could count every freckle untouched, every freckle marred with evil. He was as beautiful as the day Katsuki lost him. The day he came back, and when he was gone again. Izuku forever shone in his heart. Katsuki's eyes burned. He stared at death. The Grim Reaper had caught him. But Izuku was not the Grim Reaper. Katsuki had to see him again. It was fast, but it was a chance. Izuku! He gasped. Reaper? Akio snapped. Stand. The pressure on Katsuki's chest was gone. He stared up at Izuku, the boy no longer watching him, gun withdrawn. Blood trickled from his wounds. His bruising seemed more severe. Katsuki couldn't understand how he was standing. He didn't look to be in pain at all. But that was impossible. I want this done the old-fashioned way, Reaper. Since Katsuki here is so keen on ruining my fun, Akio announced, sneaking closer to the door. I want him to feel his life leaving him. Okay. I'm cutting it here. I accidentally recorded 2 episodes instead of just 1, but I'm cutting it here. I know what's happening in the next episode, so I'm not gonna say any notes because I know what's happening and I desperately want to talk about the whole thing in total, so see you tomorrow for notes. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server, merch shop, and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.